Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader guide, we have a very fun and unique build, a mini Storm Priest, fully focused into all of the best Flamethrower type weapons. With it, you'll get to burn and explode and smite all heretical scum in the holy flames of the Emperor, for not only loads of area of effect damage, talking about even higher than 1000 for every enemy hit, with the addition of an amazing amount of attacks per turn, some of which will even cost 0 AP only, so essentially for free, followed by the ability to generate enormous momentum for your party and also buff both yourself and them with incredible increases to damage, talking about 1000, even higher than 1500 extra damage percentage. So without further ado, let us get into our Purifier Priest Flamethrower build, first with character creation. This character can work as both the main character or a mercenary, and for homeworld, my preferred pick early on is Fortress World, as the never stop shooting feature can help you get more attacks when you need it the most, that is Act 1. Before you know, you have super powerful party members to easily destroy everything, even on unfair. Some of the talents are also useful. Anyways, you can also go with Forge World, because the Pinnacle of Weaponry feature is pretty powerful, it's just that it doesn't affect flamer weapons, only plasma, melta or power weapons. I'm saving it for my plasma specific build that I'll post soon enough. But this character can also use melta weapons anyways. It's not just flamers if you want, but for me, Fortress World. For the background, so your origin, we are doing something different this time, and going with Mini Storm Priest. You'll definitely have a lot of style, plus some pretty powerful, unique features such as first, the Flancing Faith talent that increases the power of your flamer, also melta attacks, which is why I said you can go with melta weapons as well, against the toughest enemies in the game, Xenos, demons, and enemy psychers. Also armor penetration based on your willpower bonus, which is easily buffed in-game. Sure, this won't work against humans, but they aren't as tough as these other ones, also not as numerous later in the game. So it's a must-have for the ultimate flamer and melta damage. Besides that, the unique Warhymn feature is also amazing for generating loads of momentum, which means more heroic actions, also based on willpower bonus. It's the same ability Argenta has. Of course, you can go with Sentient Psyker and Pyromancer since we are a build all about flamethrowers. It's just that I've already done multiple Pyro builds in the past. This time I really want something different, thus Mini Storm Priest. For the Triumph, my preferred pick is Illustrious Glory for the bonus to Lore Imperium. We are a Mini Storm Priest, and you can increase this as a class skill during level up, so it fits. And for your Darkest Hour, ideally Shadow of Torment, because awareness is great on all party members. The same for Persuasion for the main character at least. Medicae, you don't really need it at all. And for your base archetype, Soldier is my preferred pick by far. It is the must-have for most ranged characters, both psychers or ones using weapons. Run and Gun of course is amazing for multiple attacks, even at the beginning of the game. Revel in Slaughter provides loads of bonuses for critical damage and higher accuracy and critical hit chance. Your heroic action is great, and so are the unique talents you're picking and powers, some of which of course will directly increase your area of effect damage, great because that is what plasma, flamers and melta weapons excel at. For stats, Ballistic skill is your most important stat because you really want as high true hit and critical hit chance with any ranged weapon. You can even use sniper rifles with this build. After that, Agility is not just great for higher initiative, also more dodge for defenses, but is directly tied to your Demolition skill, useful for not only disarming traps, but specifically for this character, increasing area of effect damage, for more flamer damage of course. Then you might as well add +5 to toughness, just for higher hit points, which can help you early on unfair. And after that it's all about extra willpower because it is of course directly tied to your Mini Storm Priest most powerful abilities, Warhymn, and also Flancing Faith. And of course, if you went with a Psyker, it would also increase spell damage, so you can adapt the build just fine for a Pyromancer Flamethrower character. And as far as alignment, Dogmatic is definitely the best option for any character focused into fire damage. But honestly, it's not really necessary, you can go with whatever you want. For your first skill upgrade at the second level, it's all about demolitions, to disarm traps and increase your area of effect damage later. Then we get some more soldier class features. I'll explain them better in the how to play section, including your heroic action, and for the first talent at level 4. There's two ways this can go. The better option earlier is just like my Argenta build, unpredictable because it increases your critical hit chance, which is even doubled when behind cover. But you can also replace a soldier talent and instead go for a generic talent as to qualify for Flamer weapons. For that you need Flamer weapon proficiency. Sadly, unlike some party members, I don't think the main character or a mercenary can already start the game with this for free, so we need to pick it through a talent. Here's the thing, even though you can pick a Flamer weapon as early as the game begins by just heading to the Thunderfang Merchant Vessel, it doesn't cost anything. Flamer weapons, just like burst weapons, are not really the best option, at least as far as the very early game, so Act 1. Sniper rifles, especially the long laser rifles, are just much better, because you'll have vastly higher 2-hit chance and critical chance and damage. But since it is a Flamer build, I'll be picking Flame Weapon Proficiency now, just understand you can delay it for later, and pick Unpredictable instead. After that, increase Ballistic Skill, because you want as high 2-hit and critical chance as possible. This does work for any ranged weapon, by the way, not just Flamers. So sniper rifles, plasma, melta, pistols, whatever. Then for another soldier talent, it's time for Swift Slaughter. A classic because it lets you use Revel Slaughter after just 2 enemy kills instead of 3. Great because it doesn't just provide enormous bonuses, but also because it does refresh run and gun uses for more attacks. Followed by more ballistic skill, and as the first power, this can also go 2 different ways. If you want to use Flamers as early as possible, since we do have proficiency for it, go with Concentrated Fire, a must-have soldier talent that will highly increase your area of effect damage. Even early in the game is already plus 100% extra damage, plus of course a very nice amount of dodge reduction. It only works for area attacks, but for Flamers, every single attack type you have counts as area, including the single target shot. Well, that does hit a line. On the other hand, if you're fine with delaying this for later, which is around level 10 or so, and prefer to go with sniper rifles, which are the most optimal choice the earliest, you can instead pick Entrench. I must admit, I've been sleeping on this talent because it can be quite powerful, as it does let you restore your cooldowns of all soldier abilities except run and gun, plus even restore the AP you spent with run and gun, with bonuses to cover as well. Anyways, because the build is all about Flamers, I'll be picking Concentrated Fire early, but you have the choice. Once you max ballistic skills, go for Agility. Then for another generic talent, well, let's enhance our Flamer weapons, first with Flame Weapon Expert. This reduces the cost of all flame weapon attacks, including the heavy flamers later, by -1 AP, which is amazing. Sadly, it's being nerfed and can't reduce the cost to 0 anymore, but has synergy with dual wielding, and later we'll have ways of making the cost 0 through other class features, at least for a few attacks. Then for level 8, what we want now is Demolition Engineer. This is what will let your demolition skill be used instead of intelligence, as to get higher percentage bonuses for area of effect damage, because by default it is based on intelligence instead, plus 5% per each 10 points. Now it will be based on demolition, which is way easier to increase, after all we do have high agility, plus some gear bonuses later. Then of course more demolition. For the first Firearm Mastery Heroic Action upgrade, the last one of course, to increase your area of effect damage equal to the number of attack targets, which later can be very high considering how huge the area of effect is for heavy flamer weapons, talking about 10 plus enemies, which counts as flat damage, very powerful. For your next soldier talent, you have a few different options. Rapid reload can be useful because it helps both sniper rifles, also flamer weapons because flame weapons have kinda low ammo capacity, usually around 3 to 6 shots. Besides that, if you want more damage, you can instead go for point blank. All of your area attacks will get a huge bonus to armor penetration and ignore some enemy deflection. Both are based on ballistic skill, which will be your highest stat of course. Also easily buff in battle. Higher armor penetration matters a lot because the main weakness of flamer weapons is their low armor penetration. The only downside is that, as the name of the talent itself implies, you must be close enough to the enemy to benefit from it. So enemies that are in a 3-cell radius around the soldier. And of course it's amazing for bosses because this character will have high mobility eventually. Anyways, besides that you can also go for Tenderize, which can increase the damage enemy take from your area of effect attacks on the second attack that hits them. Kind of annoying because you have to hit them first and I'd rather just one-shot them outright. For me it's point blank because we can reduce reloading costs through an accessory you can find soon enough. Then more agility for more damage, dodge, and initiative. And of course, at long last, either Entrench, if you want more synergy with run and gun, or something else you can do if you want more versatility is pick Rapid Fire. Because by virtue of having very high ballistic skill, this character can also excel at burst weapons just fine. It just depends on what you want. Once you max Demolition, well, either Awareness or Lore Imperium. I'll be going with Lore Imperium because I think it's very fitting for a Mini-Storeroom Priest. Otherwise, just Awareness for more synergy with finding secret items and so on. Once you max Agility and Ballistic skills, you also have two options. Perception can help reduce enemy dodge, but is very easy to buff through Officer Allies. Or Willpower, which is my preferred pick, for of course higher Mini-Storeroom Priest background abilities bonuses. Perception also helps with Awareness if you prefer. After that you want yet another Flamer weapon boosting talent. First with Dual Weapon Combat. You can actually dual wield hand flamers because they count as one-handed weapons. Even if the offhand attack will cost you more AP, the cost will be reduced anyways by virtue of Flame Weapon Expert we just picked before. So with just 3 action points, you can attack twice with hand flamers in one turn. 3 times even with run and gun of course. And later you have an accessory that grants you even more attacks when dual wielding. After that you'll have our last soldier talent before exemplar levels, and my preferred pick is Camaraderie. This is one of the best extra damage percentage bonuses in the game, and with heavy flamer weapons that you'll be getting soon enough, you can stand close enough to allies to benefit from it and still hit multiple enemies as area of effect. Then for another generic talent, once again because you'll soon gain access to heavy flamers at the second chapter, it's time to pick heavy weapon proficiency, so you can equip them by reducing the strength requirement cost for heavy weapons. Followed by Flancing Faith. Once again, this will highly increase the damage the most dangerous enemies in the game take from flame and melta weapons. Something else you can pick if you want more versatility is Melta Weapon Proficiency. Just saying you can go with that if you want, I'd rather Flancing Faith. Then more Lore Imperium or Awareness, and for the last Firearm Mastery upgrade, the first one definitely for higher movement, most importantly the ability to keep on attacking without blocking you from moving. For the second archetype, my preferred pick is Master Tactician by far. It is the true god class for the ultimate area of effect damage possible. I've already covered it in some of my other guides like my Psyker God Blaster build, but well, Press the Advantage will provide you with enormous bonuses to your area of effect damage for each target in the AoE. The same for the Inspire ability, plus you have loads of very powerful talents that increase damage and also provide more support and more momentum. For more heroic action spammage, even the ability to reduce the cost of your flamer attacks by -1 for 0 even, because it stacks with your Flame Weapon Expert talent. Anyways, for the first Master Tactician power, it's all about Fervor, And I'll explain it better in the how to play section, but to put it simply, it is one of the easiest ways of generating stacks of tactical advantage, which is what directly powers most of your abilities, for higher buffing, damage, and so on. For the first empty talent, I'd go for Support the Advance. If you're playing with my other builds, then you'll have a very easy time generating momentum for your party at this point, which means even at turn 1, you can already start at higher than 125 momentum. This will let your first burst or area attack cost -1 less action points, which of course stacks with Flame Weapon Expert, which means even on an extra turn provided by an officer ally, you can already attack for 0, and this is per turn, including for each extra turn you'll have, so it's golden. Of course, you can also delay it for later and instead pick Nerves of Steel earlier for more momentum generation, but you already have your War Hymn, Mini Storm Priest ability for that. So for me, Support the Advance. Followed by your Master Tactician Heroic Action, which can become very good later. And a return to Ballistic Skill increases. Then more Ballistic Skill at level 21, followed by Nerves of Steel. For loads of extra momentum gains party-wide. Even less momentum lost, and of course the more momentum, the more heroic action spammage. As far as the second Master Tactician power, Inspire for even higher damage. Unlike Press the Advantage, which is once per attack per turn, Inspire is until the end of combat for all attacks. After that you have two options. You can already grab Stacking the Deck, which will highly increase your critical damage, great for Flamer, Burst, Melt, or Plasma, any ranged weapon, based on how many stacks of tactical advantage you spend, and you'll always have a lot because they are directly tied to, well, momentum generated. Or since you just picked Inspire, go for Unwavering Motivation, which increases the damage bonus of Inspire. Followed by a return to Demolition increases. Then back to Agility. For more generic talents, we want to increase the power of your Heavy Flamer. You can go with either Breaking Point first or Overpower, which is my preferred pick for higher critical chance and higher critical damage, directly tied to Ballistic Skill, so way higher during battle than what you see here. Followed by Stacking the Deck at long last for even more critical damage. Then more Demolition, and back to Agility. For the first upgrade to your Orchestrated Firestorm Heroic Action, the second one is the must-have, because it lets you use it multiple times per battle, including combining it with the Soldier Heroic Action on the same turn, which is the best part. Since this character, as a Priest and a Master Tactician, has a very easy time at generating momentum. After that, I'd grab Undisputed Advantage, which lets your Press the Advantage ignore, cover, and dodge. Great for Flamer weapons, especially before being buffed by allies. Here's the thing, you might even consider picking this earlier, instead of Nerves of Steel here at level 21. Because it does have a lot of synergy with extra turns, once again before your character is buffed, especially for Unfair. Because essentially with this, your Flamer attacks will always hit the enemy 100%. Any enemy. Since I do have officer allies that can buff my character, I prefer to pick it later, but you have the option of doing it earlier. Once you max Demolition, back to Lore Imperium or Awareness. Followed by more Willpower or Perception increases. Then the second Heavy Flamer boosting talent, for me, Breaking Point. Here we are. After that, Linchpin as another power for even more resolve and more momentum. And since we just picked Linchpin, it's time to get Reliance, as to reduce its cost in stacks of tactical advantage to just 1/4, followed by more Willpower and more Lore Imperium. After that, I would just go for Personal Involvement to increase your resolve based on enemies you kill, followed by Willpower, and the last generic talent, well, my personal preference is it will not die for higher hit points, because you'll soon want to qualify for Heavy Armor, Power Armor even, and that does require you to have very high strength, which will be tied to your HP soon enough. Since of course we haven't been increasing strength to level up. But remember, you could have picked Melta Weapon Proficiency earlier if you wanted, including Melta Weapon Expert. And for the last Master Tactician Heroic Action upgrade, well, number 4, because it does let you fire an area of effect attack when using it, the same for allies. Now let's discover exemplar progression for our Purifier Priest Flamethrower build. And for the first talent, my preferred pick is Peak Condition. As I just said before, this will highly increase your strength to enough so that you can qualify for Power Armor. And there's a very fun Power Armor for this type of build that you can buy from the Drusians faction at Act 4. After that, we can finally return to Soldier picks, and I would just go for Rapid Reload. Then back to more Demolition increases. And thankfully, Master Tactician is such a good class that it takes a long time before you run out of good talents to pick. So now just go for Against All Odds, for even higher stacks of tactical advantage equal to the number of enemies at battle start. Then more Ballistic skill, followed by at long last Power Armor Proficiency as a generic talent. Kind of fun because my main characters usually don't pick Power Armor Proficiency, so there you go. For another Soldier talent, you might as well pick Dash for higher movement or Rapid Fire, once again if you want more burst weapon versatility potential. Then more Demolition, and for another Exemplar talent, Extermination is always a possibility, it's just that this is much better for characters focused into single target shots. Because when you hit multiple enemies with Flamers, it will only count as one attack, so you won't get as high bonuses. You can even become a Psyker now if you want, through let's say Pyromancy, but at this point you won't have a lot of options with it by virtue of picking it so late. Anyways, I would just go for Cataclysm for more damage bonuses, because this one, unlike Extermination, does work per enemy hit, no matter the attack type, including area of effect attacks. Then Hidden Advantage for more tactical advantage potential, followed by more Ballistic skill, and then you'll have a few extra options as Soldier. Once again, you can pick Muzzle Velocity for more burst weapon potential and versatility, but I would just go for Integrity for higher Ballistic skill and movement than any other Master Tactician power, including Strong Point, because honestly you'll just be using Fervor, Inspire, and Linchpin, followed by more Agility, and Joint Offensive for even more stacks of tactical advantage. After that, as another generic talent, we already have Rapid Reload from Soldiers, so there's not much of a point into picking Spare Magazine, which is something you can pick during the earlier levels if you want. Anyways, at this point, I would just start increasing stats even further, first with Characteristic Training Ballistic skill, then more Lore Imperium or Awareness, and as another Exemplar talent, it's finally time for Pinpoint Accuracy, which lets you ignore enemy deflection based on Ballistic skill bonus, great for the toughest enemies. Then Fired Up for higher critical damage, more Lore Imperium, and at this point I would just go for On the Double for even higher movement point whenever you combine Entrench with Run and Gun. And remember, we can attack as much as we want without losing movement. Once you max Demolition and Lore Imperium, it kinda doesn't matter, because the other skills are whatever tier for you, but you might as well go with Awareness. Followed by Dawn of Victory, it can work as another way of getting more momentum, but isn't really that necessary, which is why I delayed for now. Then more Agility. After that, back to Willpower. And whatever for more skills, like I said, more Awareness for example. Then the Eager for Battle talent for even more action points. By now you kinda have the best Soldier talents already, but you might as well pick something like Tenderize, Muzzle Velocity, or Rack and Ruin. Then Heroic Inspiration, plus more Awareness, and Tenderize, plus Characteristic Training Agility. The last power can be whatever, might as well pick Rapid Fire if you didn't pick it before as a burst character. Then more Willpower, followed by Perfection Under Fire or anything else you want, because we already have the best ones for a Flamethrower character. Don't forget there's always Extermination if you want. The same for the last common talent for the first and second archetype. Let's just go with Muzzle Velocity because we can for burst. And that's it. Now let's cover how to play with our Purifier Flamethrower Priest, starting with Act 1, especially the very early game. Our character here is just level 6, and just as I've explained before, even though you can already use the normal Flamer weapon for multiple enemies hit as an area of effect, the problem is very early in the game, as you can see, you won't have very high hit chance. Mind you, this is after already being buffed by an officer ally. Even then, we only have around 61% hit chance, even less on one enemy here. Because we are, of course, on unfair mode. Meanwhile, if you were to switch to the very powerful long laser rifle, well, you pretty much have max hit chance, so vastly better because it also means higher critical chance. On an extra turn where you won't have a lot of AP, it's the same as my Argenta build, just go for a single shot. We already got a critical hit. Then activate run and gun. And single shot again. You can actually consider hitting another enemy as to benefit from your Warhammer ability, because it increases based on how many enemies you hit in the turn. Which of course does mean it has better synergy with flamer weapons, but that's better for later. Anyways, just focus on the enemies that have less HP. There we go, then war him. And you already got a lot of extra momentum. Now later, once you can dual wield Handflamers for more attacks, especially when boosted by the dual weapon combat talent followed by flame weapon expert for less AP costs, that is when flamers start becoming good. Still in Act 1, but towards, let's say, the middle and end of it. You can of course go for flamers, or still rely on your sniper rifle and wait for the heavy flamer at the second chapter, kinda like burst weapons for the heavy bolter. And don't forget, during an actual full turn when you have 4 action points, go for Deadeye shot instead, because of course it means higher hit chance, range, and critical hit chance. Even if you won't have 100% critical, 60 plus is still good enough. Then you can always activate run and gun and go for Deadeye shot again. Now let's cover how to play with our Purifier Flamethrower Priest from Act 2 onwards, which of course is when the fun really starts. If you're going with my builds, then a lot of your party members will always act first before the enemies to properly buff, debuff and set you up. First with Pascal, this is important because he can activate Missionary Oath to provide an extra turn for all nearby party members. Sadly, we've been ambushed, so I can't really apply this to all allies. But anyways, even with just one action point from Missionary Oath, your character can already do a lot. First, the default shot of your Flamer for both the heavy and the normal Flamer will only cost 0 AP, since you'll have of course both support the advance plus the flame weapon expert talent, reducing the cost by a -2. The area attack of heavy flamers, however, will still cost 1 AP, which is not that good when you only have 1 AP remaining from Missionary Oath. So something you can do right at this point is go for the heavy flamer spray or the dual flamer area of effect attack, depending on how close you are already to the enemies. In this case we were ambushed, so I couldn't really move my character or start at an advantageous position. But anyways, the point is that you can attack once and still retain enough AP to activate Entrench. Even better when you are already behind cover, but most importantly for the synergy with run and gun, we'll be using it at the next turn, and this does cost 1 AP. By the way, it will block you from using any other actions because it does finish your turn. Therefore, save it for last, always, as a last action, which means before that, you can always activate Fervor as to increase your stacks of tactical advantage, since it doesn't cost any AP, only hit points. Then go for Entrench to end your turn.
I will not be deterred.
Other characters can keep buffing you, of course. Now, once Cassia's turn comes, and she'll always act first before any enemy, this is very important, but besides buffing your character with an infusing staff, especially to reveal the light for higher willpower, which is one of your most important stats, and mend reality, which hits party-wide, Point of Curiosity, of course, will be one of the best abilities that has synergy with your Flamethrower build. Because, well, first, when using a castigating staff, it will debuff enemies, but most importantly, it will draw all enemies close to one point. And the more enemies that are together, the more you're hitting through your Flamer area of effect attacks. Don't forget stuff like Waking Nightmare, as to debuff the enemies with the highest amount of armor percentage, which is their main defense against your Flamer hits. Plus you can always drop Grand Strategist areas like Frontline for more damage, and Backline for buffing or even rear, with my build anyways. At the second chapter, chances are this will already put you at high momentum for Finest Hour, but you don't have to activate it now. Because anyways, I still have a turn with my Officer, Mercenary,
Rejoice in service.
which does mean even more buffing, especially Voice of Command and Air of Authority on your Flamethrower Priest.
And so shall it be done. Rejoice in service.
And of course, this is when you would go for either Bring It Down for an extra turn or Finest Hour, or just have Cassia do it instead, if you only have her as an officer. Let's go for Bring It Down first, because we'll have enough momentum generation to activate Finest Hour afterwards anyways. So we are already at high momentum, which means we can activate Firearm Mastery.
I am but a vessel for the higher purpose.
This reloads your weapon, and of course you increase the damage of your area of effect abilities by the number of enemies inside, which at this point is gonna be a lot. Since we have the Caligay of St. Keith boots, by just triggering a heroic action, we already have higher AP even during an extra turn. For 5, just like a full turn. Anyways, first I wanna showcase a combo with the Handflamers, but you could already, just go for the heavy Flamer spray as to hit multiple enemies. But first, let's buff our character with Linchpin and Inspire, since we have the AP. Now, when you are using Handflamers, dual wielding them that is, because they have less range on your spray ability, you kinda have to move close enough to the enemies. Which is decent enough, since you do have a talent called Point Blank as a soldier that increases your damage when you're close to enemies anyways. Now, go for the Flamer spray. I'm usually enough with dual Flamer pistols, you can attack even at point blank range. With heavy Flamers though, it does block you from attacking if the enemies is close enough. So let's go for the Flamer spray, which will cost 0 action points.
I am but a harbinger.
We already killed everything here, and here's a fun fact. Because we have the pair holster accessory, and the Handflamers are treated as pistols, I mean it even says on the name here, when you score a critical hit with one of them, chances are you will, because of, the area of effect attack hitting multiple enemies, you will get one attack for free. So that's another attack at 0 action points only, which of course means you can burn even more enemies. But first let's go for Revelin Slaughter here. When by the way, we are already at high momentum again. So let's attack these enemies here for 0 AP.
Their death is a testament to our rightness.
And after burning them into submission, because we have the talent that lets you dual wield an attack, you can still retain the ability of performing yet another attack with Flamers for 2 action points. So that's our third attack in 1 turn. But since we have Run and Gun, which will not cost anything, because we activated Entrench on the turn before from Pascal's Missionary Oath, let's do that first.
I will not
So we actually regain the AP cost, and we have another attack at less AP. What this means is, now you have another attack at 0 AP only. That's the third attack in the same turn, costing 0. Plus lots of extra movement. So let's move here, and use the Flamer, the main Handflamer anyways, for more burning.
Let this be the warning to all who oppose us.
After that, you would still have 1 attack remaining from dual wielding. So let's just target this enemy here and finish them off.
Action, your corrupt way has failed you.
Even 1 more attack for free because of the pair holster.
Let my fury rain down upon thee.
Anyways, this is all just during an extra turn. We already attack, 4+ times? And we are at high momentum, so something fun we can do is activate Orchestrated Firestorm. Because this will trigger Cassia's Lidless Tear attack, which comes as a huge cone in front of her, you don't want your characters in front of Cassia unless you want to get hit. So let's just target the turret here.
Power resides in the will of the righteous.
And there we go, it already exploded. Last but not least, once you finish attacking the enemies, because of how many targets you hit, you can go for your War Hymn unique Mini Storm Priest background power, which increases momentum for each target you hit or enemy that's around you. So let's do that.
The Emperor commands.
And look at that, you just increase your party momentum by 204, which of course would be enough to put you at high momentum again, even if you were at very low amounts. And by the way, we didn't even activate Press the Advantage for higher damage, because I just wanted to showcase how many attacks you get even during an extra turn, all because of the Flamer cost being reduced by our class abilities and gear. So let's just go for Fervor now for even more extreme tactical advantage stacks.
Actions will speak louder than words.
Something fun you can do with Press the Advantage is that it remains in effect until you attack. So since we didn't use it yet, you can activate as to buff you for the next round. Then we pass, and it's back to our officers, so now they can actually go for Finest Hour on our Flamethrower Priest.
May my wrath be thy undoing.
And now, let's finally go for the Heavy Flamer, just to show you what it excels at. Which of course is hitting loads of enemies at once, even the ones here that haven't been brought close together by Cassia yet. So let's move here first. And it's the same logic as my other characters when under Finest Hour, because the fact is all of your buffs will cost 0 AP only. So you go Linchpin,
And so shall
Inspire,
it be done.
Fervor, Linchpin, and Inspire again. You can of course also go for Reverend Slaughter
And so
because
it
it's
shall
free,
be done.
which will refresh your run and gun for more attacks, also free. And well, we can fire our Flamer at 0 AP again. Of course it would be better after Cassia brought the enemies close together, but it's not needed. Just remember you can't fire it at point blank range. Since we want it to do as high damage as possible, let's go for Concentrated Fire now, which we didn't activate before.
The Emperor commands.
And now it's just a matter of burning everything into submission.
The warning to all
So there we go, 500 damage. Plus at high momentum again. And of course you can just keep on attacking again and again and again. Your Flamer streams will only cost 1 AP. And you'll still retain the ability to move while doing it all. And you'll have run and gun for extra movement after that, so let's stream the enemy here.
Your corrupt way has failed you. Your end is nigh.
Oh, I actually forgot about the turret here, but anyways. Let's melt the other prisoners here.
I will another step towards our ultimate victory.
We are out of ammo. Like I said, it's a problem with Flamer weapons, because they don't have very high ammo capacity. But with enough action points, it doesn't matter, because once again you have reduced cost on your Flamer attacks. Plus you can just use run and gun.
And so shall it be done.
As you move, let's say here. And drop the Orchestrated Firestorm, your second one, in just the first round of battle on the remaining poor turret. Or you could just reload and still retain the ability to attack with the Heavy Flamer because it's only gonna cost 0 AP. And still retain the ability to recast Entrench at the end of this other turn. By the way, Entrench also lets you refresh the use of your Concentrated Fire if needed. Anyways, let's seal the enemy's fate with another Orchestrated Firestorm.
I am but a vessel for the higher purpose.
And there we go. Loads of attacks at 0 AP just in the very first turn of battle. Doesn't get any better than that. Now let's discover gear for our Mini Storm Priest Flamethrower build, first with Act 1 options. For the helmet, as always, the face of the Sovereign if you want this to be your main damage dealer. Otherwise you can go with whatever you want, including the tactical goggles, for higher hit and critical hit chance. For armor, any light armor, but ideally the Death World Origin, light flak armor for higher agility. Then for accessories, Metronome is always the best for your strongest damage dealer. And I only have Theodora's Rosary here to increase your lore Imperium because I did focus on that with my build. For talismans, I just have the Hypnotizing Pendant here, but because of the fact it only works with single shot attacks, ideally you want to combine it with sniper rifles, not with flamers, either pistols or normal flamers, because they only have area of effect attacks, I believe. For gloves, just the sniper gloves, for higher damage and critical chance. Followed by the camouflage robe as a cloak, to reduce enemies' dodge against ranged attacks, and for boots, skirmisher to constantly generate more movement, amazing when combined with area of effect weapons. And speaking about weapons, as I mentioned before, very early, if not for most of Act 1, you absolutely want the long laser sniper rifle, because once again there's nothing better. The dodge reduction and additional hit chance and critical hit chance bonuses are amazing, especially when you consider the decent enough base damage as well. But of course, if you already want to use flamers, you can't really find a heavy flamer in Act 1, so you'll have to make do with the normal flamer. The benefit over the Handflamers is the much bigger area of effect when it comes to your spray ability, but the damage is kinda poor. Otherwise, go for dual flamer pistols, because once again you can dual wield them for extra attacks if you follow my build. And this will get even better at Act 2+. But once again, ideally I would just go for the long laser sniper rifle plus either the dual flamers or the normal flamer if you want higher area of effect. Now let's cover Act 2 options, starting with the helmet. What you want is the peripheral visor, always a must-have for most master tacticians, as it will constantly increase your resolve whenever spending stacks of tactical advantage, which of course stacks. For armor, just the Deathward Origin and Enforcer Light carapace for nice armor percentage, also a very good bonus to agility, which also increases your area of effect flamer damage. For accessories, a very nice upgrade is the Pair Holster, which does let you get one attack for free whenever you score a critical hit with a pistol. And dual flamers, at least the Handflamers that can be dual wielded, do count as pistols. Your talisman can be whatever, I just have the focusing sense here, for more perception, so less enemy dodge whenever activating Revel in Slaughter. Then for gloves, absolutely the stabilizer bracers. The bonus to ballistic skill is great, but most importantly critical damage. Followed by the Cloak of Hatred, but you can kinda go with whatever cloak you want. This can increase your AoE damage slightly for every enemy killed. For boots, as usual, the Caligay of St. Keith. Very good for this character because we can activate multiple heroic actions, even turn 1, and then one more for every other turn. And whenever you do that, you'll get more AP and full hit point recovery. Besides that, it's all about upgraded flamethrower weapons. First, with some unique flamer pistols, I have the Mezoa pattern Handflamer here, followed by the reconstructed flamer pistol. They aren't really that amazing over normal flamer pistols, but it's what you get. And by virtue of dual wielding and having the pair holster, you can get around 4 attacks with them, even in just one turn. The star of the show is of course a heavy flamer. I have the Fiery Retribution here, but honestly the best option is probably the default heavy flamer you can buy from the Drusians faction, even early, as it does have slightly higher base damage and Fiery Retribution, which comes from the Void Shadows DLC, I believe. Anyways, the only unique feature of Fiery Retribution is being able to set the flamer spray area of effect on fire as well. Which doesn't matter much because first it costs 1 extra AP over the normal flamer spray, and second, it's only gonna hit enemies if they move. Ideally you wanna kill them before that. So just go with the heavy flamer if you want. Also, by virtue of being heavy weapons in both cases, you'll get even higher bonuses from some of the talents we picked during build progression. Now let's cover Act 4 plus gear options. A big upgrade is talisman-wise because you can buy the Onslaught Amulet from the Fellowship of the Void faction. It has multiple uses when you activate your Press the Advantage Master Tactician main power, such as the ability to ignore enemy deflection, also cover and dodge, plus reducing the cost itself to only 1/4 the stacks of tactical advantage, so quite powerful. Besides that, the Demolition Instructions Talisman is also quite OP for any build focused into area of effect damage. First, because of the huge bonus to Demolition, but most importantly the outrageous flat extra damage to area of effect weapons. That will be based on your Demolition. When you combine this with your Mini-Storm Priest background talent that already increases the damage Xenos, Psychers, and Demon Stake, it's a massive increase, especially good for the toughest enemies of the game. Besides that, something very fun is going for the modified Artificer Power Armor. It does have the very nice benefit of reducing the AP cost of attacks with heavy weapons by -1. Sadly, I don't think it can reduce it to 0, but with heavy flamers and the talent we already have for that, it will always be just 1 AP. Plus, of course, it does look cool as a power armor. Besides that, it's all about weapon upgrades, first with the best flamer for our character, the UDEX Flamer. It has way higher base damage than your normal heavy flamer, for even higher than twice the amount, and even a pretty fun ability of making the enemies explode if the target is already suffering from burning at the end of their turn. It's just that at this point you're kinda killing everything before that. Fun, regardless. And well, besides that, as I mentioned before, you can also go with Melta weapons as a secondary option, or even a burst weapon. Or you know, just the classic dual flamer pistols. Well, alright friends, so this was it for our Mini-Storm Priest Flamethrower character build. If you found this guide useful, as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and also consider becoming a channel member if you can. I always appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and see you next time, friends.